after 2 buys.
All right, welcome back to coverage here from Grand Prix Providence. This is round number 3, the first feature match that we've had, and we've got, as you can see, this is a team event, and it looks like we're already in the finals. we're going to change that right now. We're watching Luis Scott Vargas on the right-hand side of your screen, and he's playing against Matt Costa. As you can see, they're representing the middle table here. Luis is led off. In fact, they've got a mirror here, both with the planes and an island. Let's see what Luis starts off with. It's a Stealer of Secrets, a fine play into an empty board. Let's see what Matt Costa can find to answer it. It looks like it's not a land. It's just a Metropolis Sprite, and he does not have the ability to pump it. So it is going to get in for 2, and Luis is going to get that critical first extra draw step off of his Stealer of Secrets.
And that's incredibly strong. I mean, when like the Dealer of Secrets is not the most powerful card in this limited format, but if you ever connect with it and get an extra card, it is already paid its weight in gold.
All right, right now Matt Costa is already facing a tough decision. He's got a few options. He's got a Frostburn Weird he can play. He also has, he's got a Simic Flux Mage that he can play as well if he wants to try to develop his board further. But the downside here is that it wouldn't be able to block Stealer, so he's just going to not use all of his mana up for the turn, but put up a nice wall. And Luis is going to flash in a Hussar Patrol on end step. That means that Luis is likely to get in for 2 damage here, though it's going to be with the Patrol, as Matt is going to prevent any more card draw from happening. Does Luis have a combat trick? He does. He has Protect and Serve. He's just going to cast the Protect side of it. +2/+4. And that's going to take down the Frostburn Weird and potentially enable more profitable attacks down the line here. Wow, Angel of Serenity off the top for Matt Costa.
It's a big card.
It's a big card. It's not going to do anything for a long, long time. It looks like it's going to be a Windrake here for Matt Costa. But if Matt can engineer this game such that it goes a long way, that Angel of Serenity is a complete game breaker. He's also got a Hands of Binding, a Bluster Squall. I see he has a Jelen Sphinx, and
I mean, he has a lot of powerful cards.
And he's also got a Void Wielder in his hand. Wow, Knightly Valor for Luis Scott Vargas is going to hit, and it's going to make the Stealer of Secrets a 4/4, and it means that it's getting in there yet again. He also has a 2/2 Vigilance Knight as a result, and the tempo plays continue for Luis. All right, another land off the top. He's really just running him over, but Matt Costa has hit a couple of land drops here, and he can start stemming the bleeding here a bit with this Hands of Binding. All right, Hands of Binding, your Stealer of Secrets, tap it, attack. He's going to encode this thing onto one of his flyers. Looks like he's going to encode it onto the Metropolis Sprite. That's going to leave the Windrake back to block the Knight if he wants it to. Let's see what else he has, though. Here comes an attack. He can tap down the Hussar Patrol this way. He is going to go ahead and pump it as well, so it looks like this is going to be all we're going to get for the turn. And if he wants, he can trade off the Windrake for the Vigilance Knight. You know, Matt is very much just looking to make this game go long. He immediately makes the block.
Wait for it, Aetherling.
Oh, wow. Aetherling with that the conspicuous blue mana as backup. And now Luis Scott Vargas has completely taken control of this game. He's already been ahead at every stage.
Yeah, and I mean, even Angel of Serenity is not going to be good enough to battle with this Aetherling.
No.
I mean, Matt is only at 10 life, 2 turns, and the game ends.
Wow, what an incredible game for Luis Scott Vargas. He has been ahead at every stage, even though Matt has drawn lands when he's needed them. I mean, right now he would be playing a turn 5, or not a turn 5, but a Void Wielder here for 5 mana, which could really stabilize this board for him. Instead, he's facing out an Aetherling, and it's looking pretty dire for Matt here. He's going to attack. He's just going to tap the Hussar Patrol, or keep the Hussar Patrol tapped, and I think he's just going to play the Void Wielder on the Stealer of Secrets here. That's exactly what he does. Now, Aetherling is a card that has a lot of different modes, or a lot of different options as far as how you want to spend your mana for it. It looks like he's just made it unblockable, and he's going to begin pumping here. Basically, he just needs to, he's got a 2-turn clock here, and he just wants to make sure that his 2-turn clock stays intact.
And it's extremely difficult to interact with an Aetherling.
That's right. I mean, even in Constructed, where you have access to a bigger swath of tools, it's just that hard. Looks like he pumped it twice, so he's going to get Costa down to 4 here, and basically represent a 1-turn clock. And I think we're going to see Matt Costa scoop pretty soon here. Although no, actually that's not true because he does have a Bluster Squall, which he can nullify the Aetherling for a turn. All right, the attacks keep coming in here, and he's not going to pump his Metropolis Sprite. He's just going to keep the Hussar Patrol tapped. Here's a 5-mana spell, and it's a Jelen Sphinx. Okay, so he's still building up a reasonable board state. He's 1 mana away. He needs another white to cast his Angel of Serenity, and he's got the Bluster Squall, which is going to keep the Aetherling from killing him this turn. And he says attack, and he says, okay, before attacks, just Bluster Squall it. He's not going to bother overloading, doesn't have the mana for it, so.
And no reason to. It was actually pretty nice that he could just leave 1 open.
Yeah. So
buy himself an extra turn
here. A tempo play here for Matt Costa. And let's see what Luis's follow-up play is. Oh, he's got Angelic Edict for the Jelen Sphinx, so that's going to take away
now
quite a bit of
racing
power and toughness.
Just almost all but gone at this point.
Yep, and there we go. Matt doesn't need to show, I mean, I don't think he had the mana anyway, but he doesn't need to show the Angel of Serenity. He'll keep that in his pocket, and he says, well, you've got a bomb, I've got a bomb too. But Aetherling finishes the job so quickly that Luis was able to get ahead and stay ahead. Thanks. Really, it all started with that missed land drop from Costa.
And that's something, we're going to see this all day. We're going to see limited decks that are, just working on, working at an incredible level. Like the curves are going to all be really good. People have 12 packs to work with. These teams all have great decks. Luis there, I mean, he just completely ran over Matt Costa. Matt Costa missed 2 land drops on key turns, and Luis was attacking with a Stealer of Secrets before, there was anything else going on. So.
Right. All right, we're going to take a quick look over here at Eric Frolic on the right-hand side, Shahar Shenhar on the left.
He's up 1-0.
Again, look at these cards.
Yeah, and again, I mean, Domri Raid, Chaos Imps, and here's another bomb rare from the other side of the table.
There's not a card on the table that isn't a first pick right now.
No, this is just insane. Yeah, and honestly, this is what we're gonna see. Was that an Augur Spree?
Another first pick. It's a Gruul War Chant, I believe.
Oh, it's a Gruul War Chant. I don't know if that's a first pick.
Really, you don't first pick that? I like that card a lot.
Okay. Maybe I should be first pick. Shahar's going to up Domri Raid. Take a look at his top card. He's kind of hesitating here. He just puts it back, indicating that it's not a creature. And there's the Gruul War Chant indeed. And here comes some attacks. And it looks like we didn't have our life totals fully updated there, as that was the game.
Yeah, there was a tapped Chaos Imps in play and whatnot. So.
Yes. So we can assume that Frolic was at pretty low life total there. Going to sideboards here. The sideboard is always an interesting thing as well. Let's take a quick look at our other match here. This is Dave Shiels versus Paul Cheon. Cheon's on the right-hand side. He's got a Crawl Warrior and an Ember Beast. 2 solid cards, not quite as powerful as some of the stuff we've seen. But back on Dave Shiels' side, yep, more great cards here. Dinrova Horror, very powerful, and a Krakenura, a very solid 3-drop as well. Scorchwalker for Paul Cheon adds a bunch of beef to his table. He's got a whole bunch of power on the table right now. And I see that Shiels has a Grizzly Spectacle. He's also got, he's got the Red Primordial.
Yeah, now there's nothing really on the board that he wants the Grizzly Spectacle yet, and having that in his back pocket, he's got to feel pretty good about this game at this point because he can pretty much ignore everything that Paul is doing right now until something. Yeah, I mean, well, he's got enough to gum up the board. The only thing he really has to worry about is like an act of treason or something. The moment that Paul actually plays a creature that matters, then he still has Grizzly Spectacle in his back pocket. So the Crawl Warrior will start to matter, but he'll just double block it and kill it.
All right, there's a Trestle Troll, and I know it looks like he's decided not to play anything else though. He's got a Krakenura. I think he could have played Krakenura and Trestle Troll. That would have got another evolve, but it looks like he just wants to have Trestle Troll with regeneration mana up. He doesn't have the mana to cast Grizzly Spectacle, so he's got to sit back and not use that right now.
Yeah, Paul Cheon, for those of you who've been playing for a while, the name is definitely recognizable to you.
What about for those that haven't?
Okay, so Paul Cheon, former U.S. national champion, multiple-time Grand Prix winner, was considered the best American Magic player by most players in the 2006 to 2008 era.
Okay. So impressive lineup. a world's team champion, we're also told. All right, now here's that Croconura, and here's an awkward guild gate. Again, not allowing. I mean, you just want to have that safety, right? I me's clear that he's not going to die here for the most part, but it sure would be nice to have that Grizzly Spectacle just open. But Shiels doesn't. He also doesn't want to not do anything for the turn, so he's going to keep adding to his board slowly. All right, so we see Cheon just pass a turn back. He does have mana now to pump his Crawl Warrior, but he doesn't have any profitable attack, so he's just going to sit.
Yeah, especially with the regeneration mana there for the Trestle Troll. Here's another
Trestle Troll. There's a second
Troll.
Trestle Troll here for Dave Shields. So Shields are up.
Yep. This is also how Dave likes to play Magic. He just wants to. He also has an excellent 1/2 punch in his hand. The fact that he can keep open this Trestle Troll regeneration mana and also keep open Grizzly Spectacle now for basically the rest of the game if he wants to. Eventually, his board's going to get big enough where he can cast Grizzly Spectacle on his opponent's end step and then cast the Primordial the next turn and probably just win the game all on one turn. And that's the plan.
Okay. So that is what he's looking at here. Let's see if we can get a look at what Cheon has in his hand. I see he's got a Forest.
I think it's a Zerta Druid that he just drew.
Okay. Which is pretty reasonable here. On a stalled out board, a Zerta Druid can really apply some pressure. Now, it's only 1 per turn, but when your opponent's at 8, that can tick away pretty nicely. It can mean, you can make some type of an attack to just get in some damage and finish him off. It also makes burn spells that you draw a lot more live. All right, and it looks like Shields is actually considering just taking out the Zerta Druid with his Grizzly Spectacle right now. He declines it, though. He's got to find out. So now he's in an interesting situation where he's got to figure out if he's going to try to win this game using the plan that you said, Jake, or if he's just trying to make this game go as long as possible and kill the Zerta Druid. Cards that he needs to be worried about are things like
Explosive Impact.
Yeah, that's a big one. He definitely has to be careful of Explosive Impact, but he's also got a couple of turns he could even just take from the Druid if he wanted. All right, he's going to go for the Primordial here. So Molten Primordial for Dave Shields. What is he going to take? Take Scorchwalker. And these are also both evolved, not because of the Scorchwalker, but because of the Molten Primordial. And all of a sudden, he has 6, 11, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 power that he can attack with here, and he still has 2 Trestle Trolls as backup. So let's see what he wants to send in. So far, he's only attacking for 15 in 1 hit.
And the problem with sending these Carconoras in is one of them is just going to bump against the Ember Beast, and then that won't be lethal.
Right.
So he either has to attack with both or none if he wants to get value out of attacking with them. And if he attacks with both of them, then he really sets himself up to just die next turn.
Yeah.
If Paul draws anything that affects the board immediately.
Right.
So he can't do that.
So he has decided against it, and in fact is attacking for 15 here. Now, we notice that Paul does not have the mana available to pump his Crawl Warrior either, so that's not an option that he has. So he's got a 2/2, a 3/4, and a 1/1 for blocks. None of these blocks look very good. He might just take it all, right?
Yeah, he's probably just going to go to 5 here.
Yeah.
I think that's the right play. That also, one of the reasons why casting Molten Primordial was so good on that particular turn was because that was a turn where Paul didn't have 6 mana available to him to dump into that Crawl Warrior and make it a 5/5.
And you think that's why he went ahead and pulled the trigger right there?
Yeah.
Also,
the other thing this does is that
attacks with the Primordial next turn anyway, right? I mean, sure,
yeah.
it can get traded off, but he can start applying pressure.
Yeah, and I mean the one thing he really needs to do is take the Scorchwalker out of the equation, because right now that can just trade up with the Primordial, and he doesn't want to waste his Grizzly Spectacle on that. But ooh, okay.
What happened? Miming Slime?
Yeah, so that's a 5/5.
Okay, so it makes a 5/5 Miming Slime. Would have been pretty nice if he could have responded with the Grizzly Spectacle there. It would have been a 3/3 instead, but
yeah.
So it goes.
Your opponent is ready to meet you at the gathering point.
I mean, it makes a pretty big difference though, because that 5/5, the horror can't attack anymore.
Right.
Whereas the old plan was probably just going to be attack with just horror.
Horror
on this
and
next
or
turn.
Primordial.
Yeah, the Primordial would probably start coming in once the Scorchwalker was off the table.
I see. All right, looks like a couple of forests in hand for Shiels to go along with that Grizzly Spectacle. So, you know, he's got himself in a pretty reasonable board state. He's ahead on board a bit, and he's also ahead on the life total race.
But it's kind of a weird game. I don't know. I think Paul, I don't know. I guess there's the Grizzly Spectacle, which is something we also have to think about. But right now, I mean, Paul's pinging him for 1 a turn. This game is still very live in either direction.
All right, let's see if Dave Shiels gets aggressive here and just uses his Grizzly Spectacle as a get your guy out of the way and enable some attacks. Okay, well, he's telegraphing a little bit here. Paul Cheon's certainly going to notice the colors and types of mana that he's tapped here.
Cheon's no slouch.
Not at all.
Attention Magic players, we're looking for Scott and Reese Geller. Your draft is ready to fire. Please meet your judge.
All right, does he have a Oh, he does. He's got a sewer shambler in his yard. That must have happened before we came over to the match, so it looks like he's going to take this opportunity to make Molten Primordial just huge. It's going to become an 8/6. All right. And, wow, so he's just moving in here. He's going to Grizzly Spectacle the Ooze token, and he's going to scavenge, so he's bolstered his board position.
Magic players, if you are
I'm going to mill 5 here.
Your event is ready to fire. Please meet your judge at the gathering point. Mini Master number 2, please meet at the gathering point.
Didn't look like anything was scavenged in there, so.
No, it was like a mugging, a Rubble Melt Maka, and then some mountains.
All right, so he is going to attack with both here, especially since the Molten Primordial. Oh, and it looks like the Croconuras are going to enter the red zone as well.
Yeah, I mean, now the Ember Beast just bumping up against the Croconura isn't the end of the world, because if the Ember Beast does go up against the Croconura, that means that, you know, that Cheon's just going to be in chump mode against the Primordial.
I see.
So like those attacks get better this turn, especially because he's at 5, so he has to, you know.
The Primordial's lethal. It's the only lethal threat on the table by itself. But it is going to prompt blocks, because if any 2 other creatures get through, then Cheon's dead. So he does have to start throwing away creatures here. And then it looks like the Scorchwalker might trade for the Horror here.
I think the Scorchwalker is probably also going to get on the Primordial, right? Because then he trades with it.
He could do that too.
Yeah, there really aren't any good blocks here for Paul.
You can see he's kind of hemming and hawing on his block situation, figuring out which one of these scenarios gives him the most likely chance to come away from this. Remember, Dave has 2 Trestle Trolls there sitting to block any hasty things or any shenanigans from Paul's side. So Dave's in a pretty great position here as Paul's forced to chump block.
Yeah, so Paul's leaving his Scorchwalker back. This may be telegraphing a bit for Paul about what kind of tricks are available in his deck. He may be playing to an out here. Now that he has the Scorchwalker and the Ember Beast still in play, maybe he has the Blood Rush card that gives trample and plus a million.
Yeah.
And
he could also have some type of falter effect, offer the guilds or mark for death or something like that.
Yeah, leaving himself with 8 points of power if he draws like a Gruul Charm.
There you go, Gruul Charm.
He just wins the game.
Yep. So Cheon drops down to 2, and he's going to scoop up his permanents here. So it looks like Dave Shiels is going to take game 1 here from Paul Cheon. We'll bump back over to one of our other matches here.
That's an Aurelius Fury in Dave Shiels' deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. All right, back to our main match, and more bombs for Luis Scott Vargas. He's got he's got that Aetherling. He looks like he had tapped out for it, and there's also the Simic Manipulator. He's going to use the Simic Manipulator to take the Frostburn Weird here and recast Aetherling immediately. Wow, and that's going to pump up the Simic Manipulator, which is going to allow Void Wielder Steel, and he's going to come in for 2 damage and get to untap with the Aetherling here. Oh, man.
Oh, man. As if you needed your Aetherling to have synergy with something.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know if you noticed, but Dave also had Spell Rupture in his hand. So one of the few ways that he could craft a board state to be able to actually take care of an Aetherling, keep it off the table. But it looks like Luis Scott Vargas' deck is patently insane.
Yeah.
Wow, we saw some really great cards out of his deck, and we mentioned it off the top of the broadcast here. We are planning on seeing some very powerful decks here this weekend. This is not your normal sealed. All right. So what happened here? Oh, I see. Okay, so Shahar had a Zerta Druid, which allowed him to cast the Battering Krasis, but it looks like it's gone now. And he's going to attack with both. And with only 2 mana, he's got a lot of power on the board. He's got 8 power and toughness now. With just 2 mana, he's facing down a lowly Lobber Crew here for Efro. Let's see what Eric comes up with for his turn.
Ooh, I see an Armadillo Cloak, an Unflinching Courage.
An Unflinching Courage. And
Eric's
is this?
hand.
Are there 2 gates active here?
There are.
Ooh.
And that's huge against the aggressive deck. When you get the Sunspire Gatekeeper for value against them, it's pretty hard to lose.
Especially what we're looking at here. There's a 3-2 with Trample, which can be blocked by the Gatekeepers. There's a 3-1, which can be either blocked or traded off. It depends on how Shahar wants to play it, but basically it just nullifies all attacks here. Also, Efro does have that active Lobber Crew to start pinging away as long as Shahar doesn't have anything too powerful going, but he's drawn a land and he's going to play a Warmind Infantry, which is going to help out next turn with attacks potentially here.
Yeah,
it's
now
also going to evolve the Krasis.
He has 2 4-power guys when he has a big attack now. You know, the infantry becomes a 4-power guy and the Krasis is a 4-power guy. So that definitely makes a big difference against Lobber Crew and Gatekeepers, which for the aggressive red-green deck can be really difficult to deal
especially
with.
both being 4/3s.
Yep.
Good against 2/4s. Efro did ping with his Lobber Crew on end step. He's untapped now, surveying the scene. Not sure what he's pointing at there exactly, but so he has a Warped Physique in hand, which he currently cannot cast.
And no black mana there for Eric Frolic right now.
He's got a Verdant Haven though, so it looks like he does actually have access to it if he wants it. And there it is, Verdant Haven. He decides to put it on the forest. It looks like he's got something lined up already. Oh, he's just going to play the Warped Physique, and he's going to use it to take down the Battering Krasis. And in response, he's going to tap his Lobber Crew to get that untap activation for value here. So you'll see it's untapped again, even though it did the 1 damage. It's starting to do exactly what Lobber Crews do.
They lob.
They lob. They eat away at their opponent's life total. All right, I see a massive raid in hand for Shahar Shenhar. While his opponent's tapped out, he can use it to...
Yeah, it can only deal 3 right now, so the Lobber Crew and the Sunspire Gatekeepers are both out of range, and you might just want to save that for later to just kill your opponent anyway, because it does look like he has Gruul War Chant. Here he can just, play Bloodfray Giant. I like that play a lot, and then the Gruul War Chant the next turn kind of be used as an overrun effect.
Yeah.
So
Bloodfray Giant's just excellent.
Yeah, next turn he gets the Gruul War Chant, and then every turn after that, the Scar Guildmage is going to make 5/4 lands that have to be blocked by 2 guys coming in with the rest of the team.
That's right.
It makes a big difference.
End step ping with the Lobber Crew, and Efro plays a Maze Glider here. Just a big defensive body. He also has the Unflinching Courage in his hand, so he can gain some life from that and try to make this thing into a race. Another card he has in his hand he just drew is a Centaur Healer. So if Efro finds himself in a position to race here, he can actually do a pretty effective job at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Shahar has no idea that Eric's hand has so much life gain in it. Like having Centaur Healer and Unflinching Courage. Unflinching Courage is going to be a 10-point swing when it comes down. It's going to deal 5 and gain 5. So Shahar right now is probably trying to craft a plan to get his opponent from 20 to 0 as fast as possible via War Chant.
All right, there's the War Chant. He did draw another land as well, so he certainly got himself out of the early land bind that he was in.
Yeah.
All right, he's just going to attack.
Yeah, so all these guys are coming in, and he's using it as an overrun effect.
Now you see there's some hands you'll see kind of pointing at cards, and normally those would be a judge's hands, right? Like a judge, you'll see a hand point out something on the board. They're not. These are their teammates, and you're able to interact with each other when you're at the table.
Ooh, they're pointing at random cards in his hand. That's always fun to watch teams like trying to psych out their opponents. He has so many spells. They're just pointing at lands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But here you're seeing the power of Cruel War Chant. Like this makes blocks pretty difficult for Eric, who had a massive advantage coming into this turn.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to double block something here with the token and the Sunspire Gatekeepers. He can block the Bloodfray Giant and take it out. And it looks like he's going to opt for the Warmind Infantry this time. And it looks like he's setting up another double block here. He's going to double block the Brush Strider.
Yeah, so now the Strider's going to trade with that Lobber Crew.
Right.
And the Warmind Infantry is trading with the Sunspire Gatekeepers.
And those are fine trades from Efro's side, right?
Yeah. It's not really that bad.
Especially when he knows he's got the life total, the life swing in hand that he does. The Gruul War Chant getting significantly worse the fewer creatures that Shahar has on the table. So
yeah, I mean, given the Scar Guildmage with Gruul War Chant is really scary combination.
It's kind of a creature factory. Yeah. All right, here we go. Are we going to see the Unflinching Courage on the Maze Glider? We are, and he's going to attack with both. This is going to be a hit for 7, which is half of Shahar Shenhar's current life total.
Yeah, also going to put Eric back up to 20 here. And is that a Centaur Healer in his hand too?
It is.
As a note, players who are
23
with their game, as long as you wish to stay with your team.
So all of a sudden things have changed dramatically
as your team.
For Shahar Shenhar, as he's under immense pressure and has no reasonable clock right now on Eric Froelich. This is game 3 between these two guys.
And this is basically everything. I mean, Shiels up a game against Cheon, so you have to assume that he's got a pretty good chance there.
Yep.
And you have, Luis has already beaten Matt Costa with Aetherling and Simic Manipulator and all sorts of brokenness.
And in these matchups, it's the first team to win 2. So right now, this could be the match. If Eric Froelich is able to finish off Shahar Shenhar here, that'll be it. And the Cheon Entourage will advance to 1-0 or to 3-0. While the young guns that you have your eye on, and we're certainly not counting them out, but Dave Shiels, Matt Costa, Shahar Shenhar team will start off their tournament with a loss.
Not where I expected them to be, but I also didn't expect them to play against this much of a powerhouse in the first round.
Super team. There's a massive raid in hand for Shahar Shenhar, so he can take something down.
Yeah, but the problem is that there's just not enough.
It's just
he's
like
never going to deal 7 with it. Right now, there's a Baneslayer Angel, better than Baneslayer Angel on the other end of the table. And with that Centaur Healer, the Centaur Healer flies now, so Eric just has lethal on the board, basically no matter what. Yeah, so that's it. And there he is, a Cerulean Gatekeepers to gain another 7.
Jeez. Well suited for the aggro, and that'll do it. No, it has flying. He didn't remember that it had flying. And that's it. We see a handshake there as, Cheon Entourage advancing to 3-0 here. They went up against a tough matchup here with the Shiels Costa Shenhar team, but they were able to get past them thanks to Luis Scott Vargas and his bomb-laden deck. Man, we saw some powerful stuff out of his deck.
I mean, most of the cards we saw were just normal limited cards that were probably on curve for him. But we did see Simic Manipulator and Aetherling is a huge one. The fact is if you draw Aetherling and have 7 mana in a game of limited, and you're not just dead on board,
right,
it's going to be really difficult to lose that game.